interior. Chrome on the dashboard, boy, y'all inferior. Fast lifestyle, fly boy, America. She asked, could you ride? And I said, more the merrier. Crash course, man, I bring the hysteria. Fast forward, I'm still in your area. Live in effect, brace for your neck. You steady catch L's while I just catch wreck.
So let's go. Welcome. Hi. Welcome to Mission Unstoppable. I am your host, as you know, Frankie Picasso. And today with me, this beautiful lady is Marcy T. Rogers. And she is the CEO and founder of SpineMark. And she has built her executive career in the healthcare industry through the development of niche surgical centers of excellence. And I cannot wait to talk to her about those. SpineMark's mission is to create a universal standard for spine with the help of physicians and industry players to advance innovation in diagnostics, treatment, surgery, regenerative medicine through clinical research. And this is very important because SpineMark has a consortium of early-stage disruptive device, drug, diagnostic, and wellness products for commercialization. I hope I pronounced it properly, but Previcus and Previv Pro are part of that consortium, and Marcy can sort me out after. However, I kind of believe it might be the creation of her nonprofit 501c3 organizations to drive education, research, and care for the under or uninsured. That might be her legacy, but we'll have to ask Marcy that herself. Marcy was recognized recently by Comerica Bank as its Women's Business Award program that recognizes women in leadership in tribute to their contributions. And Marcy was honored in the category of Women of Business. So let's just bring her on and talk to her and say, hey, how are you?
Absolutely, really.
How does it feel? I mean, you've been a leader, probably a thought leader, a leader as an entrepreneur. As a woman, you probably broke a lot of ceilings for the women who are
scars for that.
Yeah, for the women who are coming after you. And so, I'm going to thank you for that, for them in advance. But it must be very rewarding.
Well, Frankie, the most important part of my work has always been driven by a need to help patients. And, if I'm anything, this was all because, not because of me, but because of the patients. And it started in, 1978 with children with deformed faces. And that was 17 years of my life, took it all the way to the White House with Cher, got congressional hearings, because these children were being hidden.
Okay, you're just whitewashing that. You worked with Cher, who did the movie, it was Mask, right?
Yeah.
And so we all saw that movie, and you started an organization based on a nonprofit based on that, or it was based on your nonprofit. And I know that you worked with Cher, and Cher took over for you when you had to move on, from personal reasons.
Right.
So that's very exciting. Like, wow. Like, did you have a medical background when you got into this?
This is the amazing part of the story. When I met Dr. Edgerton, who was one of the pioneers of craniofacial surgery, his son was in the same graduate class as my first husband.
Oh.
And so it was karma, really. He met me at a dinner. They invited us to their house because they were good friends, his son and my former husband. And he said, well, I don't know what you do, and I don't really know. I know you don't have a medical background, but you have more energy than anybody I've ever met. So come to this clinic, meet these children, and tell me if you think you can help. And I walked into a room with 20 families and the faces like you've never seen in anything in your life. And it was like I said, yeah, this is where I belong.
Wow. I love that. We share that, I think, because I paint for faces, really, not the same kind of disfigurement, but cleft palate, which I feel is just like a really easy, quick fix for something that's going to change your life, like immeasurably. So that's pretty cool. So you went from there to, you got divorced, I believe, and then you moved to where?
I moved to LA because it was one of those War of the Roses divorces.
Yeah.
He was the craniofacial surgeon. I was the person who worked with all the patients,
right,
and kind of built the practice. And so I went somewhere where, and it was very public, okay, because it was so nasty that the media would stop at nothing because, people were fueling it. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And so I went somewhere where I didn't know anybody because and actually I had lost everything. And so I went to work as a file clerk at Children's Hospital in LA. And, you know, that was the beginning of it, of my reinventing myself. I took every temp job I could because I had to survive. And so, but, you know, I never lost sight of the children. They still stayed in touch with me. I have patients that I helped, one of the first ones ever have craniofacial surgery, that we talk every day because we love football.
Wow.
I bought him a computer so we could wrangle about football together. So I still have all those people. The little boy I brought to the White House that played for Mrs. Bush, I had dinner with his family and Jermaine last year when I was in Baltimore. So they've remained in my life. That's an important part. And now I have a whole new group of patients I've worked with pain, spine, mainly adults. And they just show up. I don't do it for money, Frankie. I do it to help them.
Well, that's what I heard about you, is that you sometimes even pay for patients that can't pay for themselves. That's really a beautiful thing. It really is. It really shows where your heart is. And I really feel like people who are, you know, do that kind of work that you do, not that people should be paying for everybody, no, but that should, you know, heart should be first.
Passion first.
I do believe in that.
Yeah.
I want to know about the centers, Marcy. I want to know about the centers because I got very excited when I read about that, and I'll tell you why after. So you started these niche surgical centers
with a team.
With a team. So somebody, you know, needs to fill out a form. There's somebody there that knows how to do that kind of thing in your center. That's
well. Here's the thing. Most of these, and this was starting the model I use. I started in craniofacial surgery because I was the coordinator, and all of these children needed to see the orthopedic, the primary care, the physical therapist, because they have webbed fans, hands and feet, not just their face, all kinds of things. So that model I took over to spine, not that it's unique, but because it takes a team of doctors, not just one doctor in one location.
Yeah.
And that whole approach is about taking into account the person as a whole, whether it's a child or an adult. So what it is it starts with a coordinator who helps the patients put the records together, and then it proceeds through the workup and the treatment plan and the diagnostics, and then finally whatever they're supposed to get done. So it's virtual. You don't have to build a building to do it, but you do have to have a team that likes to work together and once a month collaborate on the case and talk about it. And so that's the model.
Why the spine? How did you pick spine?
You know, it kind of picked me because when I moved to LA, there was a fairly known anesthesiologist, a very colorful one at best, so to speak. And he had this whole big center for pain. And I thought pain was you take aspirins, you take drugs. And I went, he asked me to come help work for him, very much like my start in, you know, craniofacial. And so I went there and I was amazed at people having these procedures and these injections. And it hit me, everything I'd done in craniofacial needed to be done in pain. Yeah. So that's how I got started there. And one of the most compelling reasons was the fact that, you know, there's 1 in 200,000 children that have a horrible deformity. There's 1 in 15,000 with a cleft lip and palate. But in spine, there's 6.8 billion people worldwide.
Wow.
Billions disabled by back pain.
Yeah.
They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. They get into this circle of, okay, I'm going to go see the surgeon. Well, but maybe you don't need a surgeon right now. Maybe you need some chiropractic care. And we know that in 80% of the time, physical therapy and non-interventional kinds of work, injections, help, and they eliminate the need. So I got into that because I thought, well, if I could do it with where I had been, there's a bigger need out there and there's more patients.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. I was in a motorcycle accident and was in the hospital for 6 months. And so while I was in the hospital, I was thinking, of these surgical centers that you were thinking about. Because after I got out, I had to go see this, occupational therapist.
And they were all in different
They were,
places.
everywhere was different. And because it was an insurance case,
Right.
you had to go see, for DAX, you had to go see these doctors, and the insurance companies wanted you to go see those doctors. And then finding the lawyers and all of this, I thought, wow, if this could just be in one place, if I could just go as a patient to one place and they go, here's your doctor, here's your lawyer, here's this, because I had to send stuff to all these different people, it would have just been amazing. Amazing.
Well, and patients get lost in that maze.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a slide that when I talk is that here's the typical situation, and it's like people running around in circles, going here, going there. But in an integrated kind of delivery system where everybody's communicating about the patient,
right?
All of that changes
because they have your X-rays. They already have your this and your that.
Right.
It makes so much sense. Makes so much sense.
Right.
I don't know why everybody doesn't do that.
Well, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of centers. I mean, there's neurosurgery. There's all kinds.
Yeah.
But the key is that now with the drive to everything moving to an outpatient setting, things we used to do in the hospital, we don't do anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're doing some of these major spine cases in surgery centers and sending them home 24 hours later. That's change. That's innovation.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, my dad just had a spinal stimulator put in not that long ago.
Dorsal column. Yeah.
Yeah. He's in his 90s, and amazing. I think it was amazing for him. I think it really helped him a lot. I have a girlfriend now who's going through injections for her back she fell at work but it's not working. So it's like, where do you go? Because not that many people really understand it. Your family doctor doesn't get it. And then they send you to some, she has like 3 million doctors she has to go see just because, insurance, as they wreck everything really. And I think what happens with the patient is they find that they have to prove that they have this pain. It's like, how do I prove that I have this pain? Without people just saying, yeah, you know what, I know she's got pain. I can tell by, her bulging disc that she's got pain. Obviously that hurts. But as a patient, you're sitting there, gosh, no, they don't believe me. What should I be doing?
It's very, very unnerving and very upsetting for the patients. And particularly in pain more than any other field, that I've seen, because there is a tendency to dismiss. Is it psychological pain?
Yeah.
Is it pain with a physical origin?
Yeah.
And chronic pain patients are so obsessed from every point of view because the pain just takes over everything.
That's right.
And people don't want to listen to them.
No.
They think that they're crazy.
I mean, I've had chronic pain for 18 years. I live it, and I've spoken about it, and it's there are things that you can do to not eliminate, but just to put it on the back burner and not tune in. I say, you don't dial into your pain, but it's hard when people don't believe you. And I don't talk about it because nobody cares if I got pain or not. They can't feel your pain. It's like pain, right? But to the walking wounded, as I gonna call them, because I work with a pain specialist, I think if people would just acknowledge, yes, you have pain. I think that's all they really want, is an acknowledgement that, yep, you have it. And then they go, oh, okay, I can relax now. I don't have to prove it. I don't have to do anything special. I just have it. And I live with it.
But I also think, Frankie, there's been so much effort put towards dismissing their pain.
Yes.
That, just go walk around, or if you do this, it'll be better. And that's not the answer, because for them, for the patient, all they can think and feel and talk about is the pain.
Right.
Yeah,
when I was in the hospital, when I was in rehab, they sent me to go and talk to all the patients because I didn't act like a normal pain patient. You
don't. Right, you don't.
And so I went to talk to them, and but pain is subjective, and so like somebody losing a fingernail was like somebody else breaking their back. I mean, it really is that extreme. And I had there was a roommate with me who literally broke her fingernail. She was like screaming, "Oh, what's the matter?" She goes, "I broke my fingernail." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now?" I had 2 broken legs, hip and pelvis, and like you're crying about your fingernail.
It's all relative, Frankie.
It's all relative. Exactly. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see. And so I said, I'm going to go around and see if people are positive and negative. What were your parents? Are they positive or negative? Does it make a difference when you're a patient on how you're going to respond?
Right.
Which outlook are you going to take? It's very interesting, really.
Well, it is. And so much of it, I mean, it's all part of our background, how we grew up, how we perceive things. And there's also this point, particularly with chronic pain, traumatic pain has a beginning and an end.
Yes.
But with chronic pain or something like fibromyalgia,
Yes.
it never ends. You always have to be attuned to it and find ways, and hopefully non-opioid ways, to deal with it. Because what we all grew up with was, well, here, take oxycodone, do whatever you need to. And it was only until interventional pain became recognized as a specialty that you started having procedures like Dr. Fromm, the gentleman I worked with in LA. I went in there and I thought, oh my God, this is a whole new world. And there's a lot of demand, and when you're in pain, the only thing you can think about is that.
But even with the opioids, like my pain specialist had said to me at the very beginning, he goes, it's like, he goes, first of all, I don't know how you're walking around, but nothing. But it was, you have to, as a patient, you have to look at it like insulin. If you need that, then you need it. And people are going, oh my God, you're going to die. No, because you don't get high when you're in real pain.
Exactly.
Right? It's not like you don't abuse it. You don't have to abuse anything. It's just, it's what you need to take to get you through that day. And all these people is kind of like with abortions, right? All these people telling you how to live your life, they're not living with the pain. They're not living with the unwanted child. They're not living with, the thing that you live with every day. And so you have to be strong enough to be your own advocate and find a doctor who's compassionate, because they're hard to find. They don't take pain in medical school, right? It's not really something that they understand. So they go, oh, well, you're in pain. Oh, it'll go away. Don't worry about it.
Well, remember, most of the pain specialists started out being an anesthesiologist.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. But you're absolutely right. But it's changed. I mean, the American Board of Anesthesia actually recognized it as a field about 15 or more years ago. And they've been trying to change. It used to be that pain specialists always did anesthesia. Now the reality of it is you either do pain or you do anesthesia.
Okay. So there's a double. It's a field that you go off on after a certain point. Okay, interesting. I hadn't heard that. That's interesting. Yeah. So is there something because you brought up fibromyalgia, is there something for fibro for those patients? Because I know a lot of people in a lot of pain with fibro, Lyme disease, things like that. It's
a very, very difficult syndrome to deal with. Okay.
Yeah.
There are now modalities out, we're on a big push to eliminate opioids and find other solutions.
Right.
So there's a really exciting solution. It's a temporary, but it's an implant that goes into your ear.
Oh,
and they use it to detox patients, but they also are using it for pain. Oh, and the results in the patients, and it's not experimental. I mean, it's on the market, it's available, but it's had phenomenal results. And we even on September 12th met with Medicare and their COVID task force about getting a coverage decision geared towards it so that we could help facilitate getting people and using it.
Would that be amazing?
Yeah, and using it as a screening, because there's also a permanent one on the market, but the permanent one is much more expensive. Medicare has a co-payment they make.
What do they call it? Do they have a name for it?
Yeah, well, it's a percutaneous nerve stimulator.
Percutaneous
and there's a company called Diasis that makes them. This is the temporary one, and then VHS makes the permanent one. And they just got a major approval in January of 2020 to let them be done in surgery centers and all of that. But if you first tried the temporary one and it worked, you wouldn't need the permanent one.
Right, yeah. That's amazing. So if you're listening, and I know you guys are, some of you, this is like breakthrough stuff. And this is what you do. This is why you have this consortium of all this innovation and because you find these things. And, I mean, I told people we're going to talk about concussion. So we are going to talk about concussion because you really have, it's an epidemic proportions and it's something that, is near and dear, I think, for you. You've come up with a couple of, innovations there. So let's talk about it, because I was a hockey mom of 14 years. Sure, they had a concussion. I'm sure my son had a concussion at some point. And I know some parents who children did have a concussion young, under the age of 12, and still let them play. And I'm like, what? Like, blew my mind.
But we didn't know,
Yeah, kind of knew that your kid had a concussion, and maybe that wasn't safe. As I think. Maybe you don't know everything, but
well, it depends on the level of it depends on many levels. The coach, the athletic director, the doctor that they hopefully took him to, and the parent, because most parents don't necessarily know there's some subtle signs of a concussion that you have to have a medical degree to look for.
Yeah.
But there's such a lack of education about it that, that's why I was, the more you hear from some of these professional athletes and others, education is the key really to helping anyone. So I never marketed for patients, running centers. We did educational programs, and that was,
amazing. So there's the prophylactic product, the Previe Pro.
Right.
Is that how they pronounce it? Yeah. So, which is something that you would just, it's like a ointment that you would just put on your neck or something.
I use it twice a day, just in case.
Do you really? Okay.
Well, because
so in case
it's just a botanical, holistic, brain-friendly, if you will, antioxidant heavy cream.
Okay.
And it can be used. We did safety studies with children playing flag football. 63 of them, we wanted to put it on both sides of their necks, see if it had any adverse events. None. We know that it helps with elderly and falling, and that's a major problem. And we believe, and we know that even in the case of the military, it's a do no harm.
Right.
And Brett Favre has just been a great guy to help, pioneer all of this, and because of his own
and
experience.
An investor, a big investor in it. So what is it, the purpose then, as a prophylactic, what do you hope it will do, or what do they say it will do for you if you hit your head?
Well, here's the bottom line. If you hit your head, there's swelling and there's inflammation. If you have a cream that has a lot of antioxidants in it, you would presume, we can't make medical claims.
No, but I get that.
We believe that, this cream is a do no harm, and hopefully with the ingredients in it, it will help some of the symptoms. It's not going to prevent anything.
Right.
It's not going to treat anything, but it's a do no harm.
Okay. So do you expect any kind of assistance, like if you were to have a stroke or anything? Would that help at all?
We're, in our experience and in the literature, the medical literature, antioxidants are tied to brain support.
Okay.
We didn't make that up.
Right.
Okay. So now what we are going to do to really specifically address your question, we did the safety studies to make sure that it wouldn't cause reactions in any child. It didn't. It's a small number. We'll increase it. What we want to do next are some cognitive studies with analyzing the function of the child or the adult or the military before the cream and then after the application.
Okay.
And that will then give us, we know from animal studies that this cream gets in, with dogs that we did, this cream gets into the brain within 20 or 30 minutes. It peaks at 2 hours and it stays there for 6 hours. Now, what we don't know is what did it really do. But it's just like, rubbing arnica on a bruise.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt it.
Right.
Could help it.
Right.
But once we do the additional studies, we'll have more information.
It'd be fascinating. I mean, it could be Alzheimer's, anything. Who knows what the brain's going to pop.
Who knows these days?
Yeah.
And, I even, we were doing a camp in Shreveport, Louisiana. And we had all these ex-football players. And one of them was this wonderful young man who had gotten a hammer. Somebody hit him with a mallet and smashed his skull in multiple times.
Wow.
Multiple times. His mother drives a big rig,
Yeah,
a truck.
I love it.
She's just great. And she met me there, and we were putting the cream on the kids before the things. And she said, I think that could help my son. I need to talk to you.
Oh,
And he was in the hospital. Everybody said he was going to die. She said, my son's not going to die. I mean, she was so strong about that. And I gave her some. I said, look, I don't know, but maybe it helps. She called me 2 weeks later and said, he's more alert. Do you think it's that? I said, we don't know, but be grateful.
yeah, yeah.
So he's still using it. And, I stay in touch with all these families. But,
Sure.
you just never know.
That's it.
And quite frankly, she's been recommending it. I mean, she's very excited about it. And now he's even gotten well enough that he can do many more activities. So, and I can't say that was us. I think it's a combination of things, but it's not going to hurt you.
Right, right. But the other drug, the Prevacus, if that's how you pronounce it, that goes at the cellular level. Now that's affecting you at the cellular level.
Right. The reason we came out with the cream too is they complement one another. I mean, you're going to be able to get this. It's $39.99. We're coming out with it.
Walgreens will have it or something like.
Well, we'll eventually, but it'll also be online direct access market.
Okay.
We have a website set up, prevprocream.com. But so with Prevacus, a brilliant scientist, Dr. Jake Van Landingham, and the toxicologist Mike Lewandowski came up with this steroid that is used as an inhalant transnasally through your nose that goes directly to the brain. So it's a neurosteroid, it's a nanoparticle, and you can deliver this anywhere. This is the beauty of this. So it was the first drug to ever treat a concussion, and it can be delivered on the field of battle, on the football, on the side of the road, in an ambulance, going to the hospital, anywhere.
Wow.
And it took us a little while because Dr. Van Landingham, when the first formulation would have cost about $1,000 for 13 treatments with insurance. He reformulated it, and so that it would be 300, so that it could be accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
So we have the phase 1A and B getting ready to start in Australia. From there, we've already talked with the FDA about a fast track to get it to the market, and also for the military, because it's really needed with the military as well.
Amazing. Marcy, we talked just before we came on about you writing a book. And I mean, my gosh, you just have so many amazing stories. You're at the forefront of so much, good and change in the world. Really, it's so exciting. How amazing, like you're out there with your sword and anything. Now I read, your next battle is guns.
Well,
among other things, I'm sure.
Well, no, but I mean, I don't understand. I mean, and maybe I'm too old. I don't know, but I don't know how guns get in the hands of children.
Neither
I don't
do
know
I.
how this whole phenomena has been created where children are killing other children. I mean, I grew up where we played battlefield with my brothers and sisters, but we didn't kill each other. We might have run them over with a bicycle or something, but we survived. I mean, this whole genre is just beyond me. And I think it has to start at a grassroots level, but it has to go up through so many areas, and there's so much resistance because you've got the people who use this as a way to make their living, and then you have the people that are in it for the wrong reasons. But I'm just so upset about this whole phenomena.
Well, children follow their parents. And I mean, I don't live in the US, I live in Canada, and we don't have any provinces that have gun laws where you can carry a gun anytime, anywhere. And, I was watching the election in Arizona and different places. Oh, they're out front, they got guns, but they're allowed to have their guns. And I mean, it doesn't take a brain scientist to figure out that you've got two hostile, groups sitting out front. One who wants this president, one who wants that president, and we're carrying guns. Not a lot of explosive necessary to start the guns going off. That's just there, right? But these are parents who own guns. Children of parents who own guns see this. and think it's okay because it's my right to own a gun. It's your right to own a gun too, Junior. You're going to get one when you get 12 years old or whatever it is.
8. I mean,
8 years old. Yeah, and so, wow, crazy.
Well, and then there's the whole element of the dark web. And that's a big part of this, okay, with these children especially. Now, some of these children are troubled from the onset.
Yeah.
And where that came from, who knows? But so many countries around the world do not have the problem we do. Why? Because people aren't allowed to have guns.
Exactly. I just don't understand this need to own a gun. My husband's family's from out west, love owning guns. Made me a table that has a gun holder underneath it. I'm like, okay, I'll never use that, but thanks anyway. It's not in my vocabulary. It's not in my brain to even think that way. And yet, there's a whole group of people who feel it's their right to bear arms. They're afraid the government's going to turn against them. They're afraid whatever they're afraid of. It's silly. But children, I think with the video and all this stuff, all the killing, and it's so gratuitous and everything that you see, it becomes not real, I think. They think they might just get up again and walk away. Who knows what kids think?
Well, yeah, and some of the shootings at the schools, these were very well planned.
Yes.
Well thought out. I mean, by 8-year-olds, or in some cases there was one that was 7. It's just astonishing to me. And now children are having to be trained about what happens to you. Like I have one of my nieces, just started kindergarten, and they have to go through a whole course about how to protect yourself.
Yeah, if there's a gunman in your school.
Right. And if the gunman's one of your classmates. So, I just find that a very, very sad state of affairs about what's happening here. And you don't see it in other countries as much as we do here. So what are we going to do? We're going to keep watching it? I don't know. If I can be a catalyst for change, I will.
We already know you're a great catalyst for change. So I'm sure something's going to happen somewhere. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's going to take, I don't know what it's going to take, but
I don't know what it's going to take.
People, Charlton Hestons of the world who thinks it's great to own a gun, then you can have people who will side with that, I guess. I hopefully you can prevent, it'd be great if you could just have a country that you don't need to arm yourself. You have a wonderful military. Why would you need to arm yourself?
Well, I think the police sagas coming out are telling a story of why you need to arm yourself,
Well, but that makes it dangerous too, right?
That will
kill you.
Yeah. Right. I have to carry a gun because I'm being discriminated against and I'm being killed,
Yeah.
because I'm Black or Chinese.
Right.
It's just, it's
but carry that to the next step. I'm Black.
Right.
You're targeting me. I'll shoot you first. Now what happens to me?
Right.
Oh, you just shot a police officer? You're going to go into jail or get killed yourself. Like, it doesn't end. It's like, it's a non-ending situation until there's no more gun. And
exactly. I think it begins and ends with the guns. I totally agree with you, Frankie.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have no ability to control this outcome is really disturbing.
And I think, I'm pretty sure I read that, some of the controls were taken away from, the necessity of controls was taken away from owning a gun. So it makes it easier today to get a gun than it was maybe 4-6 years ago.
Yeah, because there's not as much scrutiny.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can have mental health problems. That's okay. Well,
and there's no screening for it. They don't give you a card and say, I'm a psychopath.
Yeah. This is true. But I mean, look at Los Angeles. Oh my God. Like, that was a crazy situation. Just crazy. Or not Los Angeles, sorry, I mean Las Vegas. Yeah, I mean, it was just nuts.
Vegas was nuts. And I had friends of mine that were there. I mean, this was a festival, for God's sake.
Yeah, a country festival, right? Country music.
Yeah. So it doesn't really matter. They've been to nightclubs. They've been to Manchester. I mean, they've been all over the world.
Yeah.
So until we can determine some type of control over the situation, whether it be through laws or screenings or whatever, it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, well, maybe we need to start with hate. Hate for gay people,
Yeah,
hate
let's
for
get
Black
rid of
people,
hate.
hate for, everything that's different from me. Maybe that's where we need to start again and again.
I agree with you. That's a very good statement. I
Yeah.
totally agree. But it runs both ways. The advocates and the, and it becomes so indoctrinated into a person's psyche that it's difficult. And children see all of this, so a lot of times they're just replicating what they see.
Oh, for sure. For sure they are. Yeah. I mean, you have to teach your children. You have to, hey, right now, I'm just grateful somebody teaches their children to say please and thank you. Really, honestly, like manners don't seem to even be entered anymore. Like, I went to private school. We had to stand up, and say, may I please, and thank you, and all of that. So, I mean, that was like hitting to your head, but it's nice. The niceties are seem to be going away, and that's unfortunate.
I think right now, with all that we're all going through with COVID-19, I really appreciated some of the beautiful commercials and things that they started airing about we're all in this together, and some of them had children and things like that. And at the end of the day, I mean, isn't that really what it's about? We're all in this together. Now, what people do with that is another story.
Right.
The message is a message that's positive and one of acceptance and love, if we can embrace that.
Yeah. I mean, I just saw a post yesterday where all that love and outpouring of gratitude to the healthcare workers is now, why can't you do this faster? What are you doing? You're so lazy, and, just turned over on its head. And it's like, people can't extrapolate. Like, I don't understand. Like, why can't you figure this out? How difficult it is for them. Like my daughter is herself. She's not in medical, but she works in policing, and so we haven't hugged since February because she's worried that she's going to give me something. She's a frontline worker, so it's like you can't understand how difficult it is for these people. Like, you can't. No, they just people are basically selfish today, and it's unfortunate. And I'm sad for that.
Well,
empathy has to continue.
Right. But like, play it forward. Okay. And I'm a big believer in playing it forward. So, I think that in the face of all of this adversity that we're encountering, I've experienced personally people who feel very, very strongly about wearing masks. And I feel, okay, 6 feet away, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. But I can't tell you the number of times, like if I go out for a walk and I'm running or walking, fast walking, people come up and they want to, where's your mask? Where's your mask? So a lot of that, all of this hate, I think, comes from fear.
Yes.
It doesn't, And so what do you do with something like that? Well, you can tell them something nasty and maybe that makes you feel better. I always want to take the high road and say, look, I'm sorry, don't be upset. I'll be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, here it's the law. You have to wear a mask. You can't go out without a mask. I mean, that's just the law. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. If
well, now, but before we had the
before
law.
before you had the law. Yeah. I mean, everybody has their own level of, where they think they're good, where they think they're safe. Right. Some people think masks don't work. Some people think they do, I don't know, but I think that doctors wear a mask in surgery for a reason. I don't know if it's
of course.
So I figure it has to work a little bit. But it has to be the proper mask. I do think that a lot of the masks people are wearing don't fit. They don't wear them properly. Like, what is the point if you're not going to, do it 100% kind of thing? So, but distancing, washing your hands, and wearing a mask. I mean, if that's all it takes right now, if that's all we can do, why is that such a hardship? I don't get that.
It's not. It's really not. I mean, it's not any different than what you do on a daily basis. You wake up, you brush your teeth, take a shower.
Right. And so then you hear, oh, well, you're taking away my rights. What rights? I don't understand what rights are being taken away. I think you're enhancing your right to be safe, not taking away. So it's all a perspective, right? It's all perspective.
Right.
And if you're going to walk 6 feet away from somebody, you don't need to have a mask on. And if you're going to go into a store and breathe on people, then maybe you should have a mask on. It's, but it's if that's the law, then that's the law, and you wear it, and you don't have to complain
Right.
about it, right? And that's kind of it.
Well, it doesn't do any good to complain about it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't do any good.
It's a waste of energy.
But I think it, it shows compassion. And I get compassion fatigue, because people, you go so long, and then it's like giving to charity and giving to charity, and then it's like, oh, forget it, I'm done. It happens, and I'm sure you know all about that.
Oh yeah, well, I've been down that road, and look, right now we need things to be able to do things that make us feel better, feel more in control of our environment. So that's why I'm working. I mean, everything that because of the pandemic, I was working to bring all these drugs to market. I was on a fundraiser. I was getting my center set up around the country. And then everything came to a screeching halt because, they canceled elective surgery. They canceled this, they canceled that. So what do? Well, you could sit around and say, okay, I can't do anything anymore. I'm going to give up. That's not my DNA. So I got into PPE, which is the craziest thing I've ever done in my life, because number one, I thought, well, I've got to be able to continue to support myself since my clients are struggling and they can't. And then number two, I know, I've worked with medical manufacturers my whole career. I know patients, I know doctors, and overall, I want to help, because there has to be a way to get the supplies. I mean, I get stories of hospitals that they're down to their last 90-day supply and they're rewashing them. So I said, I can do this. I can deal with the crazy as long as I feel like I'm helping.
So what would you say then? I'm really interested in your perspective on that. What do you say to the folks who think it's all a hoax, that it's the hospital, the people don't really have COVID, and the hospitals aren't really full, and all of this talk about PPEs and stuff, it's just fake stuff. Like, they've got it if they need it. What do you say?
That's not true. Okay? It's absolutely not true. And right now, because of the second and third wave of this thing coming, there's a need for at least 48 to 800 billion gloves that are not available in the market. There's a need for masks. And so unless you're right on the front, I guess you don't get that. But PPE as a business, 90% of it are fake buyers, 90% of it are fake sellers, and 90% of the goods are fake. They don't really have them, they arbitrage them. It's like, turning over houses.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that when I got into this, but it's the wild, wild west of the medical field. I want to be the difference. So I teamed up with a critical care nurse who worked in ICUs, and we now have created a direct with a factory in China relationship, so we don't have to go through brokers or dealers. And we're going to the hospital that needs 1 million masks, because that's considered a small order, because nobody else will touch them.
Wow.
Okay, we're going to the places where they say, well, can you get me 20,000? Nobody will touch them. We're also doing the larger ones, but the goal is that we want to help America, and every hospital, every doctor, if there are small quantities or they can't get them, we want to give them to them.
Like, it's unconscionable that doctors and especially nurses had to reuse masks, reuse filthy masks, and
and reuse washing gloves.
Yeah. Wow. Like, it's mind-boggling that it would ever come to that, and that it did come to that, and that people think that this is fake. Like, how do you believe that all these people who are sick, who are in ICUs now, who are dying, who did die, I don't understand how they think that's just fake.
Well, here's what I think has happened, just from my bird's eye view, my view alone. I think that the statistics in the hospitals tell you the true story. I think testing has magnified to a large proportion things that lead to believing that there's this huge epidemic, and in fact, it's the same person who went back and got a COVID test every day.
Yeah.
So, the whole testing thing leads it to some numbers. I mean, Medscape today, which is a recognized journal, has said we don't really know how many cases there are out there because some of the testing has gone askew.
Right.
A group of leading researchers and PhDs in universities in Canada recently, and England, came out with a statement that we're not paying attention to the right parameters. It's not how many cases there are, it's who's in the hospital, who's dying, what are the statistics there, okay?
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of reason, and I think that the media has paid so much attention to 700 billion today that we lost sight of some things, and that scares people. I think all of this is a fear response. So, I think it's crazy that a hospital, even if they only need 100,000 masks, can't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's real. I know that's real.
Yeah. I think that's crazy too.
That's crazy.
And, I know that a lot of people, they bring it down to politics. It's Democrats and, Republicans. They're the ones that are, but I said, I had to tell my American friends, COVID isn't just in the United States. It's around the world. They don't care about your politics around the world. Right. We don't care about it in Canada. Canada, we have our own COVID cases, and we're worrying about that. So the fact that some people think it's fake because it's a politicized thing, no, it's not. It's a global thing. So
well, the statistics, I mean, to refute that, just look at the countries now. France, England, more of Europe has locked down again.
Yes.
It's a worldwide epidemic. China's doing fine.
Yeah. Now
they've managed to control all of it. But you can't say this is political, because if it was political, India wouldn't be suffering the way they are.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. But you look at Korea did amazing. New Zealand did pretty good. And I read today in Canada that 9 airplanes, spread COVID around wherever they went, and because they were all infected. And so now, why are you flying? Don't be flying people around who have COVID. It's crazy. People kind of need to stay, I think, in one spot for a little bit until you can get things under control. Otherwise, it's just one case comes in and from out of town or from out of India to Toronto, and then now everybody's got it again. I think you have to just stop. Yeah, you just have to stop for a few minutes and say, let's get this under control. Until it's under control, let's keep all the players where they are, so we know. Because it didn't seem like our country, your country was doing very well at contact tracing. Didn't seem like that was going too good. So
right,
you need a new plan. Plan.
Well, and for me, I mean, before March 7th, I flew every week, sometimes cross countries, working over in Kuwait, doing all of this. And I mean, I'm I was big milers, American, Alaska. I haven't gotten on a plane since March 7th. That was my last trip, because I've got too much I want to do. Yeah. And there's no reason now to fly. Nobody's asking you to fly anywhere.
That's right.
So, I miss it. It was, it's kind of addicting that you're not running to an airport and getting on a plane and all your friends and this and that. But there's too much to be done, and it's not safe right now.
No, it's not safe. And, my dad lives in Mexico. I canceled our flights March 17th. We're supposed to be down in Mexico in March, to celebrate his birthday, 96th birthday. And, we weren't able to go. And I just hope that he can hang on until, he's healthy, but hope, until there's a handle on COVID and we can go through. If I could drive, I would, but we can't get into the States. Can't.
You can't. I
don't know how to get to Mexico without going through the U.S. So if there was a way, I'll figure it out.
But there is hope on the horizon.
The new vaccine.
The Pfizer vaccine, they're thinking December, whatever, starting it. So Moderna has one, Johnson & Johnson. They're all trying to get to the finish line. And once we have a treatment, we just need a vaccine.
And from what you're hearing, sorry, I had to turn that off for a second. What you were hearing in the medical community seems promising with the vaccine.
Yes, with like anything, there's going to be people say, well, no, they don't have enough data, we can't test it. But from what I've heard and what I've read, Yes, and Pfizer had the highest number of participants in their studies.
Oh, did they? Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. I know that
They've got
they're
good
saying it's like
data.
90% effective, which is pretty good.
Right? They tested it against the antibody. So let's hope.
Yeah. So what else? What after you're back, in the mainstream again, where are you going? What do you hope to conquer? You've got this consortium of amazing businesses. Who would you like to bring in?
Oh no, I'm gonna fund all of them. That's why I started doing PPE because can you imagine trying to raise money during the COVID-19
No.
pandemic? No, it doesn't exist. So I've whatever sales and things that I have, it'll all go towards the consortium, starting first with Prevacus and Prevpro. And then we have an Alzheimer's drug, again, reformulated as a transnasal delivery system. We have a phenomenal device that cures chronic pain in a 30-minute procedure with it's Replication Medical. It's called Gel Stick. They've got phenomenal data.
I'll have to try that one.
There you go. 30 minutes in an ASC. Great results with data. And then we have actually a biologic that is injected and actually stops the growth and the extension of osteoarthritis in joints.
Wow,
So,
that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to focus. Yeah.
Nice. Oh my gosh, Marcy, how amazing is that?
Well, it takes a village, but hopefully with my efforts and I've had people reach out to me. Like I had this one group that said, well, we want to help give you the funds you need, in a business kind of transaction.
Sure, of course.
So, I've had that kind of help, and also with, as I said, whatever I do in PPE goes to that. Yeah. That's going to be where it goes.
Absolutely game-changing, amazing. Like you are like this angel of mercy flying through. You guys like giving your wand here and there to all these people who really, really need your help. That's incredible. Thank you. I'm going to thank you for your service because I think you've done just an amazing job. I'm really excited.
It's I do all that I can do. And so, I have a wonderful friend. His name is Les Buck. He is a world-renowned tennis player in the seniors. And 2 years ago, Les's cardiologist here in San Diego, where I live, called me and she said, I got this guy. Do you know anything that can help him? Because he can't walk and he's a 10. So I met Les and he was hunched over, obviously in severe pain. And I lined up 5 different consults for him. He ended up going to Cedars and had surgery with Neil Anand, who's a friend of mine, front and back, big operation. And 6 weeks later, I met him for lunch and he was sitting upright. I didn't even recognize him because the pain was gone.
The face is different.
Like this young man. The face looked, I walked up to the table and I said, Les? He said, yeah, it's me. I went, but you don't look like Les.
Yeah.
And
it is amazing when the pain goes. I can attest to that. I had a hip replacement last year, and the grinding pain was just so extreme. And then after, it was just like, people go, oh, you look so different. I go, yeah, like you're not clenched in pain.
Yeah, his whole face. I mean, I swear to God, I did not recognize him. Awesome. And when he stood up, and now he's swimming, walking, and he says he's going to do some more tennis. More power to you, buddy. Go for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. You are just amazing. Thank you so much for sharing these stories with us and bringing these, incredible products to market. It's really been a pleasure to talk to you, Marcy. Really. No,
it's been a pleasure, and please, let's keep in touch, okay?
We're going to leave Facebook. Goodbye, Facebook people.
Bye, Facebook.
Okay, and let me just stop our recording.